I'm not here to teach you what to think. I'm here to teach you how to think. Welcome to Dating Younger Women, one of the Frank Advice for Men lectures. I'm Frank B. Kermit. Let's get right into this. Although we will be talking about how to approach a younger woman and the emotional needs of younger women when you're an older guy, this is a product about having a relationship with a younger woman when you're an older man. We'll be covering things like how younger women can address the emotional needs of men and what you need to be aware of, how to manage that relationship, how to keep it going long term, when you should keep it going long term, when you should end it, and whether or not you should get married if you're an older man to a younger woman. Now, let me be very, very clear here. This CD is for guys who want to date a woman who is decisively younger. We're going past the 10-year mark and the 15-year mark. If you're a man in your 40s and you want to date a woman in your 20s, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a minimum 20-year age gap. So keep that in mind as I go through this lecture. That's the perspective to take. Now, there's two kinds of men who are going to be listening to this CD. The first type of guy is a guy who's never been good with women. And now he's older and he still isn't any good with women. And he still wants to date younger women. That's the first type of guy who's going to be getting something from this CD. The second type of guy is the guy that was good with women at some point. But as he got older, maybe he just lost some calibration skills. Maybe the things that were working for him when he was younger, maybe he was very good looking. Maybe he had a number of things going for him. He was just in a very good mood. He was healthier, aren't in his favor anymore. And he hasn't been able to calibrate for that change. So he was good, and now he isn't good. That's the second guy going to be listening to this CD. A guy who's used to dating younger women and is an older man who's still dating younger women wouldn't be listening to this CD anyway. All right, the first thing that I want to make you guys realize is that the majority of questions that I get through my personal business is not from older guys trying to be with younger women. It's from younger guys who are losing their younger women to older guys. That's the first thing I really want to hammer home here. The fact is that as older men, you have higher value. But when a guy doesn't recognize his own value, it doesn't matter what he has going for him. It doesn't matter how much money he has in his account. It doesn't matter how healthy he is. It doesn't matter how good looking he is. If he doesn't respect his own value, he's not going to be able to attract the women that he wants. For every one guy that writes to me saying, look, I'm an older guy, is it really possible for me to date a girl in her 20s when I'm in my 40s or 50s? For every one question I get like that, I get at least 10 questions from guys saying, I lost my girlfriend to this much older guy. And it's usually a guy in his 20s who's struggling to pick up women in their 20s. That's the value you have. What is the biggest difference between men and women? And I covered this in my Inner Game seminar. That is, the biggest difference between men and women is time. See, the longer things go, the more it works in your favor as men. Because as you get older, you become more mature. You have more life experience. But the biggest factor is you don't have a biological clock. A woman who, let's say, is in her early 20s has only so many years left before she can have a child safely. The older she gets, the more risks. So if she decides that she wants to have her first child when she's in her late 30s, the chances of Down syndrome go up. The chances of multiple complications with her pregnancy go up. Younger women have this to their advantage. The fact is, the younger they are, the safer and healthier it is for them to have children. But that's a time-limited resource. By the time they're 35, if they haven't had their first child, they're going to start struggling. It's not the same thing for a woman when she's having her third child at 35 as if she were having her first. As a man, you don't have this problem. The fact is, because you're men, if you're at the age of 45 and you decide today at the age of 45, you know what, I really just want to have a family. I'd like to settle down, get married, and have 3 kids. As long as you are not in any ill health that would affect even a younger man, you could father 3 kids within the next 2 or 3 years. That is your value as men. And the fact that you're older also means that you've gone through some life experience. Maybe you started a business and it didn't work out. Great, now you got life experience so that the next time you do it, you won't make those same mistakes. By the time you're in your late 30s, early 40s, early 50s, all the mistakes that you were going to make, you've made the majority of them. At this point, you have wisdom because you have experience. And it's through that wisdom, through that experience, you can develop your value in other things. Now, I know there's this whole stigma about becoming the provider, but the fact is, being a provider is, in fact, a value. If that's all you are, then you're only going to be able to attract the gold diggers. But if you can provide and you can address the emotional needs of a woman, the chances of a gold digger getting her claws in you lessens. Does everybody get that you have value? And the older you get, the more value you have. I want to point out that based on everything that I've read when it comes to older men, younger women, they say that one of the best age brackets to be in is to be with a woman who is 15 years your junior. It is best to be with a woman who is 15 years your junior. Here's why. If you are, let's say, 35 and you're dating and want to get serious with a girl who is 20, at the age of 35, it's pretty well assumed that you have your life somewhat established, or at least if you haven't gotten there yet, you know where you're going. That maybe is an unfair assumption, but it's one that seems to carry over. When you're dealing with a woman who's 20, she's still young enough that if you want to have 5 kids, you can have 5 children with her. Older men who date younger women tend to have more children for exactly this reason. I want to talk about some historical aspects here because the fact is, in our current society, there is a stigma of the older man and the younger woman. If any of you have ever tried to date a younger girl and found that your friends and family were not supportive, found that her friends and family were not supportive, it's because that stigma exists. But that stigma is a relatively modern phenomenon.